Hi, I'm Fleur. Welcome to this full body 20-minute Pilates workout. This is an exercise sequence that's going to work your whole body. So we're coming down onto our mat, making sure that our knees are underneath our hips and our hands are underneath our shoulders. I'm going to tuck the toes under and just do one brief hover here just to make sure that we're properly engaging the abdominal muscles, and then we're holding on to that sensation as we draw our navel towards our spine and working into our push-up. So engaging the abdominals, we're pushing down towards the mat, exhaling as we push up and inhaling as we go down, making sure that our navel is tucked in nicely and towards our spine and lowering our forehead down towards the mat. Let's do a few here. We're pushing up in our box position. Or your next option, if you want to do a little further progression on this exercise, will be to lower your hips. So there's more body weight to push up here, and we're pushing down from this position, making sure that we're drawing in through the abdominal muscles and keeping our elbows nice and tight next to our body. So imagine that you've got pencils underneath your armpits, and you don't want to drop those pencils. So you're keeping your elbows tucked nicely next to your body as you inhale as you go down and exhale as you push up. And then let's rest back on our heels into child's pose. Now we're coming into our hovers. So again, let's make sure that our knees are underneath our hips and our hands are underneath our shoulders. We're tucking the toes under and we're just lifting our knees off the mat just a couple of inches and lowering. So we're inhaling and then we exhale as we lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. So you can work on your hovers here. If this feels enough today, working with your breath, hovering your knees just a couple of inches off the mat, inhaling as we lift. The next progression is to step your foot back. Inhale, exhale, lift, and step your foot back. So you can do that with a break in between, where you can hover and step back into your plank position, which is a further progression of this exercise, and then come back. If your wrists start to get sore, just roll them around a little, give them a little break. It's totally fine to do that whenever you need to. We're going to take an inhale, exhale, lift, and step back into plank. And if it feels a little tight on your wrists, you can come down onto your forearms just to relieve any pressure in your wrists there. It's good to put some weight bearing on our wrists, but if it gets a little too uncomfortable, this position might be better. Holding the plank and then releasing back into child's pose. And just work around any pressure that you've got in the wrists there. Move your hands around and relieve that off. Or you can alternatively work on your knuckles, but you might feel a little more unstable there, so it's better if we can just try and work through this and create a little strength in the wrists. So we're going to go again. Inhale, exhale, lift our knees off the mat just a couple of inches, really drawing in through your abdominal muscles, looking down at your mat to make sure that you're keeping your spine nice and long. We're going to move on. Inhale, exhale, lift. And then we're going to begin to step the feet back. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, and stepping the feet back. And you can work through any of these options that feel good for you and challenging. So we're lifting, stepping back, and then coming back down. And then you can practice holding your plank position either on your wrists or on your forearms. That feels better. And we're just holding that plank, making sure to breathe, feeling that lovely connection in our abdominal muscles before we release that and step back into child's pose. We're going to move on to our side lying exercise. So we're using the mat as a guide to make sure that we're in a nice straight line. Our hips are stacked, shoulders are stacked. We're lying with our head down on our arm, with our top arm in front of our belly button for support. We're raising both of our legs off the mat, using your top hand for support, making sure that you're looking straight forward to keep your spine, your neck nice and long. So we inhale on the mat and exhale as we lift our legs off the mat. And you can practice this hold for as long as you feel comfortable, making sure that you remember to breathe. And you can also practice challenging your balance here by taking your top hand away. But for now, we're just going to keep working with the breath, inhaling and exhaling as we lift our legs off the mat. We can warm up this exercise by doing lift and lower of the top leg first, but today I just went straight into the side kick. Then we're coming up onto our forearm and we're lifting up into our side bend, so you'll feel that nice tightness in your obliques, making sure that your hips are stacked. We're drawing our knee in towards our elbow. So you can put your hand on your head, just next to your head if you like, just so that you've got a little bit more of a stretch, or you can bring your arm closer down to your side. You should feel all of this work inside the lower part of your body, your obliques and the glutes closest to the mat, as we draw and kick in towards our elbow, remembering to breathe. Inhaling as we draw in, exhaling as we kick out. See if you can build up to 20 of these. Stay with me. It's got a couple more to do. Keep breathing, drawing in through your abdominal muscles. And then we're going to release that off and just have a little cuddle to rest and let those muscles go. And we're coming onto our back for our one leg stretch. So having a nice long neck, arms down by your sides. We're bringing one leg up to tabletop, making sure that your knee is over your hip and your shin is parallel to the sky. You're going to kick that leg out and bring it back. Working through your abdominal muscles, making sure that your knee is over your hip, kicking and bringing it back. Now for you today, this might be enough. And if you're building strength, you can just keep working here. Just engaging through your abdominal muscles and practicing that rib to hip connection as you raise your leg up to tabletop, kick out and draw back. The progression from this exercise would be to bring both legs into tabletop. So we're imagining that rib to hip connection as we lift one leg. Focus on connecting and drawing your rib cage down towards your hips as we gently draw the other leg up to the sky, making sure that you're not arching the back. And then we can work on the leg extensions from here. Remembering to breathe as you extend out. Inhale as you draw in, breathing out and in, out and in as you work through the legs. The next progression will be to come up, your head and shoulders, and then we're switching a little quicker from side to side. So your arm goes on your opposite knee as we switch back and forth, remembering to breathe. Breathing, looking through your legs, really working your abdominal muscles here. Breathe, stay with me, we can do this. Breathe, this is such a lovely, challenging exercise for abdominals to get everything nice and warm, nice and strong. Keep going, pointing your toes, lengthening through your legs. Keep breathing, almost there. Let's do this, almost there, keep going, you can do it. Breathe, breathe. Let's do just a couple more. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're drawing in. And you can just rock from side to side and just cuddle your knees in towards your chest just to release off that tension. Now we're moving on to our other side, the other side of our side kick. Getting rid of the ants on my mat. We're lying down on our side again with our head on our arm and our top hand on the mat for support. We'll just do a few leg lifts here actually just to warm up, which I didn't do the other side, so apologies for that. Often you don't need to do this in the side kick. I just think it's a nice way of just warming up, but you don't have to. You can go straight in as I did the other side. But because I forgot, I will show you now that we're just going to lift and lower the top leg a few times just to warm up, making sure that our neck is nice and long, that we're looking forwards and we're not looking down towards our body. Keep your spine nice and straight. And then as we do that exhale, we're lifting both legs off the mat, stabilizing through your hips, your obliques, supporting your spine and lowering when you need to. We'll inhale, exhale, draw both legs up and hold. Make sure that you're breathing through this isometric hold. You don't want to hold your breath. And you can just hold it up for as long as you feel challenged. Practice on making those holds a little longer. You can also practice taking your top hand away from the mat to challenge your balance. And releasing that off. Well done. A challenging exercise. Okay, coming up into our side bend exercise, making sure that our bottom leg is bent. You should feel that nice drawing in through the waist. You might want to actually move your top hip over to make sure that your hips are stacked. And we're drawing in. You can have your elbow at your waist height, or you can have it up by your head if you want to come up a little bit further. Really feeling that engagement through the core as we kick the leg up towards the elbow. So inhaling as we lift in and exhaling as we draw out. Working with your breath. You try and build up to 20 of these. You should really feel it as you start to get past 10. It should feel very warm in there in your glutes and your abdominal muscles. You can do this. Keep going. We've only got a few more. Almost there. Let's keep going. Keep breathing. And release that off. Well done. We're coming into our shoulder bridge now, and I had to actually close my eyes through this because the sun was really bright on my face, as glorious as it is. So apologies for that. Activate your arms so that they actually feel like they're part of this exercise. And I'm just going to show you the rocking back and forth of my pelvis, which we do every time that we start this exercise, just to warm up the spine in that position, nice and gentle, and to make sure that when we lift up from this pelvic tilt, that we tilt the pelvis before we raise our hips up to the sky. So we're doing it in a flowing, controlled movement, rocking the pelvis a few times. As you can see, you arch your back and then tilt the pelvis forwards as we slowly start to raise our hips up towards the sky. And you can look down at your body from this position. You should see a nice, long, straight line like a ski slope from your forehead all the way down to your knees. And exhale as we slowly roll back down vertebrae by vertebrae, dropping each tiny segment of your spine down one at a time. Inhale, exhale as we roll our hips and our spine one piece at a time off the mat up towards the sky, breathing through it, making sure that our alignment is stable, that we're not wobbling. Exhaling as we slowly drop back down. You should feel the middle of your back reach the mat before your tailbone, so make sure that you're not just dropping down. We inhale, exhale as we roll our hips up off the mat. Make sure that your spine, that your neck is feeling nice and long. You've got some space in between your chin and your chest there. And exhaling as we roll down. You can press your hands a little into the mat for a bit more support. Realign yourself whenever you get back down if you need to. Inhale and exhale as we lift up off the mat. Using our arms to keep ourselves steady. Focusing on drawing up your pelvic floor muscles as you get to the top of your bridge, because that will really help to keep your hips stable. So remembering to engage our pelvic floor muscles as well as our abdominal muscles in this exercise. Holding for a brief pause at the top before inhaling again and exhaling as we roll back down. Keep going, we're almost there. Let's just do a couple more. Really great for spine mobility, glute strength. Keeping it really slow and controlled makes a lot more work for your glutes here and working into your hamstrings as well. Making sure that you're not flaring at the ribs. Trying to keep that rib to hip connection even in this position. So consciously try and think about that. And then we'll release that off. And just rock a little from side to side to let your back have a break. We're going to do that again a couple more times. Let's inhale, exhale as we lift off the mat, really working the spine here. This is a great exercise for mobility and strength. Exhaling as we roll down, making sure that you're not flaring through the ribs, making sure that your pelvic floor is tucked in, you're engaging those muscles in your pelvic floor to keep your hips nice and stable. Nice long straight line from your knees all the way down to your forehead. Exhaling as we gently lower back down. Inhale as we lift up. Hold for a moment. Exhaling as we gently roll back down. And let's just release that off now and rock a little from side to side. Okay, let's do our cool down. So coming up gently to your feet, sweeping over, slight side bend from side to side, tiny back bend, looking back towards you just to lengthen through the neck, coming down, fingertips towards the mat, and we're stepping back into our hip flexor stretch. Bring your arms up if you like, a bit more of a stretch, and then we're stepping back into our plank just for a couple of seconds, just a brief hold before we drop the knees, coming down into child's pose. Keep your knees nice and wide so you've got lots of room there to really stretch out the back. Coming down for a second, resetting the spine before we push up into our ab stretch or cobra, just for a brief moment, resetting the spine, pushing back into down dog. You can pad your feet out here to create a bit more length in the back of the legs and the hamstrings. Lift one leg up to the sky, and we're going to bring that knee in towards the hands and come into our pigeon. So you should feel the stretch on the outside of your hip and your glutes, the back of your thigh, all those muscles that we've just worked in the shoulder bridge, getting a nice stretch there. Let's go back into down dog for a moment, padding the feet out before we lift the other leg up towards the sky and gently draw that knee in towards between the hands, laying down on that to feel that stretch outside the hip and in the glutes. Just breathing into that stretch. And pushing up from there. I'm going to take a second to go back into down dog again just to see if we've got any more length in the back of the legs there before we bring our other leg forward into our hip flexor stretch, raising the arms if you like. Be careful not to arch the back there. And then bringing your leg back to meet the other one, staying in your forward fold for a moment and coming up really slowly to give your spine and your brain chance to reset, and then bringing your hands to heart.